Rouge River.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I'm really grateful that I have the opportunity to speak on this bill before us today in this House, because there's so many other bills that I really wanted to speak on and participate in the debate, but because this government consistently forced the ending of debate, and that's whether it was through closure or time allocation, which of course their record now stands at 60. You know that even this bill, we're speaking under time allocation, so I really wanted to do a full 20-minute speech on this, but now I don't have the time to do this. So this February, the Minister of Citizenship and Immigration tabled Bill C-24. Sorry, Mr. Speaker, I'm not sure what the Conservative members are yelling at me right now, but I'd like to continue with my speech. So this bill, C-24, when he tabled this bill, he stated that this bill and the changes within it are meant to actually reduce citizenship fraud, increase efficiency of the system, and reduce backlogs. He said that it would, and I quote, protect the value of Canadian citizenship for those who have it while creating a faster and more efficient process for applying to get it. Yet this bill is not actually doing any of that. So I want to talk about me. I personally value my Canadian citizenship very much, and I'm sure everyone agrees overall that Canadian citizenship is something of enormous value to everyone. All Canadians value it very much. And what I don't want to see are changes to our system of citizenship and immigration that plays partisan politics with something that is so fundamentally important to so many. I welcome some of the changes in this bill, Mr. Speaker, as it does address some long overdue deficiencies in our current system. However, many of the other changes proposed in this bill cause much concern and need significant amendments to ensure that the protection of our so valued Canadian citizenship. Mr. Speaker, you must be aware that in the Citizenship and Immigration Committee, of which I'm a member, we have been doing a pre-study of the subject matter of this bill, and we've had many presentations and witnesses we've had some presentations from witnesses, but we've had many more write to the committee, hoping that they'd be able to appear before the committee when this bill is sent back to the committee for actual study. But considering the fact that the Conservatives have now moved time allocation here in the House on the debate and what we experience in the committee, I'm scared. I'm actually nervous that we're not going to do a full study of this bill when it gets sent to the committee, and that we're not going to be able to hear from more witnesses. And I just want to list a couple of the organizations who have sent in requests to actually appear. And these aren't individual Canadians. I think individual Canadians who want to make a presentation to the committee should be able to. But this is the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees wants to come and make a presentation but won't be able to. A small organization you might have heard of called Amnesty International wants to come and make a presentation but probably will not be able to. And these are expert witnesses who really want to speak to the committee about this bill when it comes to the committee, but I'm scared that we won't actually be able to do a proper study of the bill when it gets there. Nevertheless, let's get into the meat of this bill. And Mr. Speaker, if you could let me know when I have about 1 minute left, I would be very grateful. I would be very grateful for that. So some of the positive elements of this bill, the first is, of course, the issue of the lost Canadians. It's high time that this issue is addressed. It's been an unfair situation that's gone on for far too long, and also we heard from the Canadian Council for Refugees and a couple of other witnesses who welcome the measures to address the unfair exclusions from citizenship that have been allowed to go on for decades, and that's, of course, the lost Canadians who are pre-1947 cases. However, they also go on to, the CCR, the Canadian Council for Refugees, goes on to say that they regret that there are no measures to address the unfair situations created by the 2009 amendments by this government by denying citizenship to the second generation born abroad. So Canada is now creating a new set of lost Canadians and making some children who are born to Canadians stateless. And, Mr. Speaker, I'm sure you're aware that we are signatories to the UN Convention for the Prevention of Statelessness, and this is what's happening. Even though I said I'm going to be speaking about good things, there's a sprinkle of bad even in the good. Another good thing, item that's in the bill is the expedited citizenship for permanent residents who are currently serving in the Canadian Forces. When we did another study in the Citizenship Committee, I remember a representative from the forces who came and gave us actual statistics and said that this is about 15 people on average. So what it does is it shortens the residency requirements from the new 4 years requirement to 3 years for permanent residents who are serving in the armed forces, and it's a great way to say thank you to the people who are serving in the forces. And a third good thing is stricter rules for fraudulent immigration consultants. And it's high time. It's really high time to finally regulate these immigration consultants. And the NDP has been calling for the regulation of immigration consultants, and we don't tolerate or condone any form of immigration fraud. We push the government to develop tough legislation to crack down on the crooked immigration consultants who have been supportive of anti-fraud measures, and we like to increase the resources to the RCMP and CBSA to continue to identify these fraudsters who are really hurting a lot of citizens in Canada and increasing work in many of our MPs' offices, to be honest. Now I'm going to move on to the negative aspects of this bill. And Mr. Speaker, if you can just show me how many minutes I have, I'd be very grateful. Wow, 3 minutes is not enough, Mr. Speaker, for me to go through the many bad things in this bill. So this bill, it creates far too many new barriers to citizenship. It creates a longer waiting period to qualify for citizenship. It doesn't actually give any value to pre-PR time that's spent in this country. It's actually has quite a few parts of it that the UNICEF Canada has sent us a brief that says that we are in contravention to the Convention on the Rights of the Child, of which we are signatories to. There's increased fees. They double the fees from $200 to $400. The age change for the language requirements. So right now it's 18 to 54 years old for the language test, and now Bill C-24 changes it to 14 to 64 years old. And we know that for children who are 14, let me get into what UNICEF said about these actual changes, and I know we don't have enough time for me to go through all of the things I'd like to say. Bill C-24 it proposes amendments proposes to amend subsection 5.2 of the Citizenship Act. The shift in age requirements is problematic for immigrant and refugee children for a number of reasons. For instance, language and knowledge testing of children could lead to challenges with reuniting children with their families, and therefore could lead to the deprivation of the child's right to family reunification under the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child, Article 10. This measure does not take into account the added stress that such testing may cause, or the children's ability to be able to be successful in test environments. In some cases, children may be still facing fear of authority, trauma from their home countries, and other experiences depending on their individual life circumstances and migratory paths that impact their capacity to successfully take such tests. And they go on doing much more. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I notice you telling me I have 1 more minute. I have much more to say. I want to speak about, I didn't even touch on the fact that this bill allows for the revocation of citizenship, and the revocation is done based on the creation of 2 tiers of citizenship in this country now. My understanding is that you're either a Canadian citizen or you're not. There's no real in-between. But what this government is doing is creating that in-between case. That in-between case of you're a Canadian citizen with only Canadian citizenship, or you're a Canadian citizen who has dual citizenship with another country, or the minister has reason to believe that you have dual citizenship. And if that's the case, whether an individual actually has a dual citizenship that they wish to have, and if the minister just believes that you might have another citizenship, and now the onus is on the individual to prove to the minister, because the minister has the discretion to revoke somebody's citizenship for committing a crime in another country, in another jurisdiction even. And it just goes to show that there's so many things that are bad in this bill, and I really wish I had more time and that I wasn't speaking under time allocation to be able to get through the other things I'd like to talk about. And hopefully my colleagues will ask questions about the limitations and the value of people in Canada who are spending time as pre-PR as well, pre-permanent resident. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.